You know, the prophet Daniel uh, gave the Lord gave him a vision on the coming empires that was going to control Israel and be a leading factor in the world in his days. He started off, Nebuchadnezzar had this dream of this big statue. And, you know, Daniel had to go over there and interpret it for him. And that was the empires that was coming clear on through to the time of Christ. And then Daniel, over in chapter 7, the Lord gave him that vision. But he saw it, you know, symbolically as animals, called them beasts, you know, lions and bears and leopards. But they, you know, as you look at history, you see that they were the empires that came, and they came in the exact line that they're supposed to come in. And then in Revelation 13, we see them again. John the Revelator saw them all coming together. It's man-made governments. And in the end time, he saw them coming together. You know, he saw the same thing that Daniel saw. And so when I studied this, you know, it hit me. Look, if God put it in here 3 times, He must be wanting us to see something. You know, He must be wanting us to pay attention. If it's there 3 times, and it's there 3 times, and you see, you know, traces of it in other places. But the king had the vision of the big statue, and Daniel interpreted it as the world empires that was coming clear on up to Christ. And then Daniel came along, and again the same thing, and John the Revelator came along, and he saw the same thing as Daniel, but Daniel saw them separate, coming one after the other. And John the Revelator saw them all together as the global entity that we're going to, as we see already taking form in these end times. It's going to get worse, but you know, everywhere you anytime you turn TV on, you'll hear somebody talking about, you know, the global community. You know, that 50 years ago, folks, if somebody in America had started talking about let's get together and form a global community, they'd got shot. America was proud to be America. Now it's let's have a global community. But that and see, we look at this book, and we need to realize something. I don't care what the circumstance looks like today. This book is the truth. Let's stand on it. You know, a few weeks ago when Trump announced that Jerusalem, he's going to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, and he should. It is the capital of Israel. It was the capital before Trump announced it. But now, you know, you see where he's saying that Israel's going to have to give up more now because, you know, they got Jerusalem. It's not a bargaining chip, but they're going to have to give the Palestinians more. Folks, Israel don't owe the Palestinians anything. No, they don't. So, you know, when we saw him talking about he's going to make Jerusalem the capital, I mean, I was tickled, and like I said, he should have. But Zechariah has already told us that Jerusalem was going to be a burdensome stone in the end time, and he'd gather all nations to battle against it, and it would be taken and hived. He already told us that, so I don't care what it looks like right now. That's what's happening, folks. You know, when he announced that, he's going to recognize it as the capital, the rest of the world had a fit over it then. But hey, the time's coming when the world's going to join together to do away with tiny Israel. Yes. But God. You know, I told you last week where Amazon was selling those T-shirts that says, let's make Israel Palestine again. In other words, do away with Israel. That's the devil's thought, folks, but it ain't going to happen. Yeah, he said he will fight against those nations as he fought in the day of battle. And he comes to save the remnant of the Jews. But when we look at that, know this, the church comes with him. Right. So between now and then, the church has got to be out of here. Yeah, that's right. And so we look at the church at you know, again, that's another one of those things we get in our mind. We look at the church so scattered and upside down and teaching every kind of thing, and we say, well, we ain't nowhere close to ready. No, everything that you see that's got a building with a sign out front ain't the church. Come back with Christ to rule and reign and to save the remnant of the Jews. You know, he said he would for the second time, we read that scripture Sunday, the second time he would gather together the Jews, the remnant. He's coming back this time because the world, when they go in there to divide Jerusalem and to take Israel, hey, that's under the influence of the Antichrist, and he wants to kill every one of them. Yeah. Because to kill every Jew would mean the Bible's wrong. He would have stopped the prophecy. That's the reason that over and over and over and over through history, you see these tyrants raised up, and they all hate the Jew. Yeah. It's happened in Spain. It happened in Hitler. It happened in Russia. Britain even threw them all out of Britain. But tyrant after, right now in Iran, they say we're going to destroy the Jewish entity. We're going to wipe them off the map. Because it's the spirit. That spirit is against the Jew. He hates the Jew because, like I said, the devil understands and knows. If he could destroy all the Jews, he would have destroyed the prophecy. Let me tell you something. Now, though, the church is part of that covenant that God made with the Jews. We become part of their covenant. So the devil hates you too. Don't think we're going to be, when all this starts, that the church is going to be scot-free. That's the reason the church has got to get out of here. Because God, when there's no place left for the church on earth, Jesus has got a place for her, folks. But one thing, we looked at these world empires, and every one of them, if you go back and look at your history, at the time, they rose to prominence. They were so far ahead of the other nations, it looked like they were going to last forever. Yeah. Every one of them become wealthy, had great armies, just so far ahead of everybody else. Everybody thought, well, now, nobody will ever defeat them. But one at a time, they all faded. They either crumbled from the inside or was captured. Everything, all the man-made governments, they ain't never been one that stood forever. Look, because wherever man puts his hand, folks, the sin in man starts working inside too. And then, we got folks right now looking at America and saying, America ain't gonna never fall. That's what they said about every one of them, folks. Every one of them. Look, we're still under a system called seed time harvest. If you sow it, it'll come up. And America has sowed some bad seeds. But, Rome was probably the greatest of all of them. And at the time Rome was at its peak, it was spread out just about worldwide, all over Africa. They had Europe, the Middle East, everything was under the Roman influence. But at that time, at their peak, the Roman money, they made coins out of the precious metals. In other words, if you got a $10 gold piece from Rome at that time of their peak, you could melt it down and have almost $10 worth of gold. I mean, it was worth something. Same way with silver. But what happened? The politicians. See if any of this sounds familiar. The politicians, you can go back and read it. It's all the history. They began to steal the gold and silver out of the coffers of Rome for themselves. They became rich, and they began to make the money out of metals that were no good until their money became no good, and the world didn't want to trade with Rome because their money wasn't any good. What used to be a $10 gold piece was now a $10 tin piece. And, the politicians got rich, but the money became worthless. And Rome began to bring in slaves. They'd go out and capture somebody, and they'd bring in the slaves to do the work. So the Romans, the high echelon, they became very rich and very lazy. And you know what they did? They became addicted to entertainment. They built, they're still remnants of the great Roman Colosseums. That's all they did. Hey, they were rich. They had nothing else to do. They had slaves fighting their battle, slaves doing all the work, and they were rich. So they entertained me became the thing. But after a while, in the western part of Rome, when the barbarians began to attack from the outside, the nations, the money had got no good, so they couldn't hire people, and the army was so full of slaves and foreigners that they didn't really care anything about fighting. The barbarians just marched in and dethroned the Roman emperor in the west. Now the Eastern Rome, she stood on for a while, Eastern Roman Empire stood on for a while, but she was finally dissolved into what's called the Ottoman Empire. Islam took it over. Do we see any kind of pattern in Rome here? The money became no good. Folks was not willing to fight for her. They brought in folks that didn't have any investment, and entertainment became their god. And she fell from the inside. But as we look at these things in Daniel 2, where he was talking about, this is kind of a time in prophecy. I want us to see this. He's talking about the last of that fourth kingdom upon the earth, which is Rome. It was great iron kingdom that conquered everything in its path and in its time. But he saw in the end time a regathering of this thing of clay and iron that didn't really mix. But let's just read that. Verse 41, chapter 2. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, that's this great statue, were part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom, he's talking about the end time kingdom, shall be divided, but there shall be in it the strength of iron, for as much as thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, and the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. In other words, folks, militarily, the governments of the world right now are stronger than they ever been. But the human factor has got them weaker than they ever been.
Right.
And the old Roman Empire, like I said, the eastern leg of it became Islamic. And so what we've got today, folks, we see this thing coming back together as the global entity. Folks that hate us still do business with us because they can't do anything else. We are linked already, like it or not, worldwide. And that's what everybody was afraid of when Trump began to say we're going to put tariffs on stuff and level up this trade thing. And everybody said, we're going to get into a trade war. Has anybody seen the trade war?
No.
Look, folks, we got to cooperate. The world's got to cooperate with us. We got to cooperate with the world. We can't. The way we set up now, nobody can stand by itself. And so the Islamic folks hate us. They hate our freedom. The socialists hate us. But you know what? They're going to trade with us. Politically, we're already joined.
Yes.
Because there ain't nothing else they can do about it. Don't you know, if they thought that they could stand without us, Russia would already have shot the missile. China would have already shot the missile. Iran would have already shot the missile. But they know not only could we turn them upside down with ours, but hey, their economy depends on us helping them out. So we're already politically joined. But then you go on down and like I said, Daniel saw it as partly strong and partly weak. The human factor of it is the weakness in this end time. That's the human factor. But this thing is coming together, and it'll come together under the Antichrist to destroy everything but the Antichrist kingdom. But now here's the time in prophecy. Verse 44. He's talking about when you see these things coming together, this global entity coming together. And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, and it shall break in pieces and consume all those kingdoms, and shall stand forever. In the day, he said, when you see this global entity coming back together, it's the time when Christ is going to come and destroy all man-made governments and set up his own kingdom. See, like I say, it's a time in prophecy. When you see that, folks, folks 50, 60 years ago was teaching Jesus could come tonight. No, he couldn't have.
No.
Daniel put his finger right on it. He said, it'll be in the days of these kings when he comes and destroys all of man-made governments. So, folks, we're in the timing that this prophecy said that Christ's kingdom would come and destroy all of them. Now, again, am I saying it's tomorrow? No, I'm saying this is the time that we're in. But we're creatures caught in time, and we want to see things quickly happen. And if we wake up tomorrow and everything ain't falling in the exact place, people say, well, it ain't going. Well, I've heard it all my life. Well, no, this is the time. Can't be no other time. This is the time. And Daniel said this would be the time that when Christ would come and destroy all man-made governments and set up his own kingdom. But people don't want to hear that. And it's hard, again, caught in time, and we people as we are, we never saw Christ come. We never saw anything except what, we've always everything's continuing just like it, as Peter said, as it has from the beginning of time. But that's what he said. Scoffers would come, saying, "Where's the promise of its coming?" But we tend, if it's not happening right now, if we've never seen it, we tend to kind of think, well, it probably ain't going to happen in my lifetime. We tend to put it off to some other place, some other time. But Daniel said we were in the time when we saw these things happening, folks. And the thing about it is, the Bible is full of prophecies. Not one of them is unimportant, and not one of them's going to fail. You'll never see where God said, "Oops, I shouldn't have put that in there." No. All of it's going to come together, folks. And we are in the generation where they're coming together. And I want to read that again. We've read it a lot of times right here, but I want to read it again over in Zechariah 14. If you want to turn over for just a minute. Because this is a thing that hadn't happened yet, but it's going to happen. And no matter what the circumstance looks like, here we are. It's going to happen. Chapter 14. Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, and the spoil shall be divided in the midst of thee. He's talking to Israel. I will gather all nations. How many?
All nations.
Against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. And then, look at verse 3, then shall the Lord go forth and fight against those nations, as when he fought in the day of battle, and his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives. So here we are again, another scripture that is a time in Scripture. He said, when you see them all gathered together and divide Jerusalem, then Jesus is coming to fight against those nations that fought against Israel. And in that day he'll set up his own kingdom, that you saw in Daniel 2. And folks, we are in the timing. We're in the time. It could not have been another time, folks. Could not have been another generation. This is the only generation that has saw all the prophecies line up together. There has been another one, because God ain't made no mistake. Ain't none in here. The next generation is under Jesus' rule, before all nations gather together against her. I tell you what, see, if America sent troops over there to help defeat Israel now, there'd be a lot of folks up in arms in America that love Israel. Hey, but those folks that be up in arms are those folks that knows what God said, and they're with Him. But if they're gone, hey, there's a bunch of folks in America that hates Israel right now too, because of the spirit that they have. Yeah, He's coming soon. We're in that time soon. And I say, and you've heard me say this a lot of times. There's going to be a trigger event, folks. It's something that's going to shake the whole world. And when that happens, you'll see all these things come together, and so fast it'll make your head swim. The world will say, we can't have that anymore. Somebody will punch that nuclear button, or there'll be such a catastrophe that it will throw the economic situation into a tailspin. And there's starting to be a lot of earthquake activity around the world. We talked about that in Yellowstone, that super volcano, and they're afraid that it could erupt, and it would kill millions of folks. What would happen if millions of folks just was out of America at one time? See, it'd be awful, it'd be terrible. But there's going to be a trigger that's going to send all this together. And I was reading today where that there was NASA had spotted a asteroid that looked like it was lined up with the Earth, but it's going to take years for it to get here. And I said, well, I don't have to be with NASA to tell them that, because John saw that asteroid hit. It was after we was gone. He said he called it a mountain burning with fire, and hit the Earth. But it's after the church is gone. Yeah, there's one coming. And I'm going to tell you, when the church is gone and harvest unleashes all the seed that has been planted into it, this earth is going to turn upside down pretty quick, folks. Don't be here after the first load's gone. Yeah, she's dying. She's dying. The corruption. But the saddest part of all of this, folks, is churches. So many churches is trying to become like the world or to gather the world instead of telling the world, hey, there's a way out of here, but this is going to happen. You know, hey, we're trying to become like the world instead of trying to change the world or bring the world to Christ. See, I'd rather have 3 saved in a church full of unsaved that wouldn't listen to nothing. Well, I want the sinners to come. I sure do. But folks, if compromising is what it's going to take, never mind. We're too close now. We're too close now. No compromise. Let's see, 2 Timothy, I think it is, where the 3rd chapter, it talked about in the end time. Here's another one of them things. Perilous times would come. Talk about dangerous times. Said men would be lovers of their own self. Well, people kill people now just because they're there. They ride by and shoot folks on the street, folks. Dangerous times coming. And you know, we have grown kind of dull to all this stuff. Used to, you know, if the news showed somebody shot in the street, it was a shocker to people. You know, it kind of got people's attention. They'll step over them now and walk on because they see it so much, huh?
They're desensitized.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It ain't no big deal.
And you know, we kill what? How many millions of our babies in the womb?
It was 50 million.
60. I think it's 60 million. I think it's 60 million now. Well, it's like I said the other day. Stupid folks want everybody to know they're stupid. I've noticed that. They'll carry signs. Look, I'm stupid. Well, he called Jeremiah by name while he was in the womb. He was Jeremiah from conception. Jeremiah. But I tell you something though. We look at an eagle's egg, and them same folks will tell you that eagle's egg is an eagle.
Exactly.
They'll lock you up. You bust the eagle egg. Well, it's just like that thing the other day where that one who was it? It was on the news where they said people forgetting their babies in the back seat. They needed to put something important back there to remind them that the baby was back. Look, if the baby's not, that sin make you stupid. Well, look, that's where we're at, folks. Prophecy is going to be completely fulfilled. Jesus is coming. You know, Paul told the Romans, he said, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools and changed the glory of the incorruptible God into an image like corruptible man and four-footed beast and creeping thing. In other words, they look at the animal and that's God. They look at you and you're an accident. But say this is this global thing. This is this global thing. You know, years ago they were saying that America should quit having babies and let some of these third world country folks come in here, you know, and you know, take care of them and let them work. But we should say that's just crazy. But that's a global agenda. That's the global agenda. Let's get this thing together, folks. It's not coming. It is here, and like it or not, that trumpet's going to sound, and the church is going to get out of here. But all the prophecy, find me one that you can't see happening even now. Right? See, all of them has come together in this time and place. And there's several that, like I said, the timing prophecies, like that Daniel 2, in the days of these kings.
That's right.
And you know, Jesus said, when you see these things come together, come to pass, lift up your head. He lists this whole, redemption draweth nigh, and he lists this whole thing when we saw them coming together at once, and every one of them's there. Every one of them's there. So, but like I said, you know, the devil wants you to believe not here, not now. And he'll have folks in the church believing not here, not now when that trumpet sounds. But this is the truth, and we better understand this. Regardless of what it looks like today in the circumstance, this is the truth. Base everything on what this says, not on what you're seeing right now at the moment. Because what you're seeing right at the moment can change that quick. But this won't. This word will still be true. This word will still be true when the church goes out of here, folks. And she's going out of here. Every tongue will. Did Did you see where that guy that's running against Ted Cruz in Texas, trying to get Ted Cruz's seat, said that kneeling when the anthem was played was one of the most American things that you could do? And he'll probably get voted in.
You had to pray.
That's wrong. That was wrong. But no, the guy that's running, trying to get Ted Cruz's seat in Texas, he's running against Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
He said one of the most American things that you could do was bow when the anthem came on. No, I don't think that's American, folks. But
No, it's not.
but again, America. Here's again another one of those things. America, as a leading nation, is not in end time prophecies. She's not there. And I saw prophecy teachers try to put her there, but she ain't here. But she's just one of the many nations in the end time, and that's exactly where we're heading. Just like ancient Rome. I don't know now how many trillions of dollars that we owe, but hey, the more money we owe, the less our money becomes valuable. And so, and again, we got people in here that has got no stake in America. They just want what America can give them. And if war broke out, there's a bunch of folks in America that wouldn't lift a finger,
That's right.
would not lift a finger, would not fight. Now hang on to this. Now, let me just say this: the vote's not going to change America. It's not. Prophecy said it's going to happen. So don't you ever get to thinking, well, we can do this and we can do that, and we're going to turn this thing around. No, we're not. Best thing we can do is get folks saved, tell folks about Jesus, and get ready to leave here. Because I love this nation. Don't get me wrong. I love this nation. It's been good to me. But this is the truth. My allegiance sticks with this book. And our government, folks, is not for us even right now. Very few folks in the government is actually for the people of America right now. And I mean, that's the reason they're fighting Trump so much. They don't want America first.
No.
America has got to be one of the many global units, not a leading nation. That, regardless of how prosperous that Trump's policies makes this nation, they're not, those that are the globalists are not going to quit hating him. They hate him. And is he a upright man? Is he a Christian? I don't think so. I mean, he does some. If we could just get to where that we measure everything, you say, well, that's just kind of fanatical. Yeah, I am. Fanatical means I'm crazy. Means you're crazy about something. I'm crazy about this word. But if we could get to where we lined everything up to this word, folks, how much better off we'd be when we saw it instead of just looking at it and say, well, that's happening. Say, where's that at right here in this word? Where does that fit in? How much better off we'd be, and how much better decisions we'd make when instead of just jumping off into stuff and running with it. Look at it and see where it fits. See where it fits. Know where you're at. Like I said, God put, talk about these end time empires, God put it in there 3 times that I know of, the same thing. So, folks, he wanted us to look at it and know where we're at.
He did.
Know where we're at and know what was happening. He hid things for us, but he ain't hid stuff from us. He sent us a spirit to see, but we have to open our eyes and allow that spirit to show us in this word. And the devil's come along even with that, and rewriting the word to where you can buy Bibles now that there's not the Bible at all. It'll just say Bible on front.
Yeah.
So it's an exciting time, but we need to be very, very careful. Don't take nothing on face value anymore. Check it with this. Check it with this. And if it runs up a red flag, if the Spirit of God runs up a red flag, I don't care whether you understand it or not. Stop.
That's right.
Stop. Because he's smarter than you. And he's not trying to do something to hurt you. He's trying to do something to help you. So, keep my commandments. He said, if a man keeps my commandments, that we will make our abode with him. I like the fact Jesus lives with me. I ain't got to hunt him up.
He